This week on Regen, the e-racing podcast, we talk about Projekt E and its inaugural season has a start date. We also talk about Formula E because it started. Formula E is back and it is stunning, and we talk about it in length. The first race of the Diriyah E-Prix. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Regen, the e-racing podcast. I'm your host Dino, and I'm joined once again by Chris Soulsby, a man who never sleeps, but always comes up with the goods.
Hello, how are you? You know, that is the most accurate one yet. You know, what is sleep? I'm not entirely sure with you.
I've been trying to catch the races, but being in New Zealand, they were midnight till 2:30 in the morning, and just didn't work out for me. Did not work out for me.
Oh, that's awful. That's horrible. At least you could watch practice at a reasonable time.
Yeah, practice was good. Practice was great. And qualifying. So practice was midday, and qualifying was about, when was it? It was about 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock at night until about 10. So it was, perfect.
Okay, yeah. That's quite nice, actually. Yeah. I think, what time was it for me? About 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
About 4 till 12. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
It wasn't very nice with it being a double header either, I won't lie, because I mean, it was a nice start of the season, but timing.
As we'll talk about, but yes, I can imagine.
Horrible.
We won't get into media of the week. We will save that because we have plenty to unpack in this one. But first up, I was on the Hit the Apex podcast. Jawad, he is brilliant. So go and check that out. It was really good. We talked a bit about Formula E, a little bit about the new rules and a little bit of regulations. And yeah, I found it really interesting. And Jawad is always great. He's always insightful. And yeah, go check him out on @HitTheApexMedia on Twitter is probably the best way to get him. And with that, straight into the news. A quick congrats to Matteo Ferrari winning the Moto E Championship. And Matteo Ferrari, he basically took it by the scruff of the neck in the closing rounds of the championship. And to be honest, it's good to see Ferrari winning a championship. Yes, I did go there.
Savage. Boom. Oof.
Have you had a chance to check out the Moto E of late, Chris?
I haven't, unfortunately. I think the last race I watched was Austria, which might have been the second race of the season, I'm not sure. But I know it was between Ferrari and was it Eric Granado?
That's the one.
Yeah. I haven't seen any more, but it's something that I'll definitely catch up on, because the best thing is the races were short and manageable to watch. They were very easy to watch and, very exciting as well, so I'm looking forward to that in the second season for next year.
Yeah, you could basically binge the whole season in an hour and a half if you really wanted to, because the races are only 8 minutes.
Exactly. Moto E is the new Game of Thrones. You heard it here first.
One more thing before we get on to the Formula E. Projekt E. There is a calendar schedule that is now available. So Projekt E is going to visit Belgium, Norway, Germany, Latvia, and a final destination, which is TBC. The news coming out of Jake Kilshaw, eRacing 365, Projekt E, Spa-Francorchamps, Hell, then we go to the TBC, then the Nürburgring. Now that's an interesting one. Nürburgring, and Riga in Latvia. So I will put that in the show notes. But looking forward to some Projekt E and the events. 5 of them at this stage. 2020 start.
Yeah, that will be good when that starts. Very excited about Projekt E.
Okay, into some quick stuff from the iPace E Trophy. The love of Chris's life currently. Simon Evans winning the first iPace E-Trophy race in Diriyah. What a great start. Absolutely stellar start from him, the Kiwi, and really taking it to Sergio Jimenez. We didn't see Kaka Bueno as he had was it a touring car championship race to attend to?
Yeah, he was racing in stock car Brazil, in somewhere in Brazil, I'd imagine, common sense. But yeah, he was replaced by Mario Haberfeld, so no Kaka in the first two races, sadly.
I think Jimenez could have really used him, especially as Alice Powell and Abby Eaton were at points all over the back of Sergio. And to be honest, I think he really needed his rear gunner there.
Yeah, I think Jimenez really needed that teammate who was capable. And Mario Haberfeld, it was his first race in 10 years, bless him. And yes, he did all right, but he was very far off the pace. He was mixing it with the Pro-Am drivers. So he really needed that rear support from his teammate, and that didn't quite happen.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy-looking win for the Kiwi.
Yeah.
Abby Eaton, Alice Powell, what were your thoughts for them? Abby, obviously, in one of the two Jaguar I-Pace VIP cars, but Alice, start of her season, how did you think they went?
I think Alice Powell was brilliant. I think we'll see her win some races this year at least, because she certainly didn't. She didn't do anything in half measures, did she? It was flat out racing in the iPace E Trophy, and the attack mode implementation works a treat. And Alice Powell was making moves left, right, and centre. I mean, Sergio Jimenez would have been looking in his rear mirror in race one, just thinking, oh my God, what do I do here? Because she was going everywhere, around the outside, up the inside. It was brilliant. And Abby Eaton, I mean, for her first time in the car, in race situation, she was brilliant as well. I mean, Abby Eaton is a very quick driver. She's won championships and is quite a defined driver in GTs and, the touring cars. I want to see more. I want to see her with a full-time drive, because that was stellar. She was really good. Really good.
Yeah, no, it was a very good start to the season. Sad not to see RLL racing this season, Chris. Do you have an update on what they're up to? So,
yeah, I mean, it caught me out by surprise massively, because at the end of the first season, I think it was Brian Sellers. Brian Sellers led on the RLL. I got the impression that RLL were looking for a second season in the iPace E Trophy. And then all of a sudden, nothing, which means we've lost two cars from the Pro Grid. And then we've also lost TWR to Cheetah, which is also a massive shock, because I was told that James Rossiter was going to drive for them by a very senior source within that team.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So that's a bit of a shock as well. I mean, before the start of the season, I was doing some digging and was talking to a certain driver on the iPace grid. And I was told that there were 16 cars present in preseason testing. And then we got a 10-car grid for the first two races of the season. I don't know if there's going to be more drivers coming in or what. But it's a bit of a low-key start for its second season, really, bearing in mind we had 12 cars last year. And they were expecting a 17-car grid, I believe. So I will find out more on that one and get back to you.
Yes, I just hope that they have two VIP drivers every race. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
I think they'll have to. In all honesty, yeah.
Yeah, and there's more chance eventually of getting you in the seat too. That'd be nice.
Oh, someday I will make my iPace E Trophy debut and, get driving lessons from Sergio Jimenez, and it's going to be great.
Excellent.
Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space. Right. Formula E. Qualifying. Heading into Superpole. Alexander Sims, Stoffel Van Dorn, Nick De Vries, Eduardo Mortara, Sam Bird, and Jerome D'Ambrosio. Now, a few there that I did not expect to be in Superpole for the first race of the season. Can you guess which ones, Chris?
Well, I'm going to say Stoffel Van Dorn, Nick De Vries, and Eduardo Mortara. and possibly Jerome D'Ambrosio.
Well, it just seems to me that I picked the wrong Mahindra, to be honest, because I had Verline picked for the first win of the season, but I expected Mahindra to be there. Always start quick. Nick de Vries, Stoffel van Dorn, and Eduardo Mortara. Now, if we take it back a couple of weeks into our last podcast, we thought that maybe for those two, it would take a while to build. New powertrain for Venturi, as well as Mercedes, but absolutely nailing it out of the blocks.
Yeah, it was the last thing that we expected. I think it was the last thing that the entire paddock expected, because at the first available opportunity, Mercedes, EQ, and Venturi, who are obviously powered by Mercedes this season, were on the pace immediately and got 3 of the 4 Mercedes power cars into Superpole. Felipe Massa made a mistake on his final lap in qualifying and would have been there or thereabouts.
Yeah, he would have been, yeah.
It's impressive, isn't it? It's caught us all off guard, and I think we might need to readjust our predictions for this season.
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because none of us expected it. In qualifying, obviously, we saw it was based in championship order of last season for the group qualifying stages. So the likes of Stoffel van Dorn were in Group 3, and then Nick de Vries started from Group 4, as he's a rookie in the championship. Group 1 saw its usual disadvantage, so it was a very dirty track. The likes of Degrassi, Verne, Evans, Buemi struggled for lap time. They started very low down in the field. I believe, I want to say Jean-Eric Verne was the highest starting one of those. And I think he was like 11th or 12th on the grid for the first race of the season. So yeah, we really saw that track evolution, and that really played into the hands of Mercedes EQ and Venturi Racing.
Massively. I don't know if it's because they've got a quick powertrain, or a quick car, or if it was just the track conditions, but they really came out of the blocks immediately and, said, we're here to win in this championship, which is massively impressive already. It is, and I think our predictions are going to be a little bit wrong this season, just saying. Now, Sam Bird, he was pretty much pegged on for pole, but made a mistake, and that was it for him. So he ended up in 5th, D'Ambrosio having an absolute shocker in Super Pole. But, yeah, I think that Virgin car was massively quick all weekend. In race 1, I think there was no beating it, Chris. There was no beating it.
I'd say I think the Virgin car was probably the quickest car in the first race of the weekend. Sam Bird was the fastest driver in the group qualifying stages, and that was only by 800ths, but his lap time was very, very quick. And if he had not made that mistake in his final 250 qualifying run, I think he would have been on pole realistically, because that car was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
It's a very efficient car, and it's a very fast car. It's a very encouraging sign for the team, certainly this early in the year.
Right, Super Pole. Actually, before we talk about Alexander Sims and absolutely carrying over from the back end of last year, this great form, wanted to talk about Andre Lotterer in 7th. New team, great qualifying session from him. But this one, 10th, Oliver Turvey.
Yes. I mean, I think a couple of episodes ago I turned around and said, Neo 333 Formula E team, I don't think they'll get any points this year. And then Oliver Turvey puts it in 10th place in qualifying. And I'm just thinking, throughout the weekend I was watching the TV and just thinking to myself, he better not finish in the top 10. Because if he does, I've got to eat my words. And at the end of qualifying, I was so angsty. I'm thinking, oh no, I look like an idiot now.
What did I say? Oh yeah, Turvey will get a point, surely. Turvey, yeah, he's brilliant. He'll put it where it's not meant to be. Yeah, that's him.
You're saying Turvey's going to get points. Now I'm like, Neo would finish in the top 10 at all in any of the 14 races. And he puts it in 10th in qualifying, so...
Yeah, we just need some more tracks with some great track evolution.
Yes.
As I think both Neo drivers will probably unfortunately be down in Group 4 for most of the season. Alexander Sims, back to him with a great qualifying and ending up on pole. 2 poles in a row for the Englishman. Wasn't it brilliant?
It was. It was stellar. I mean, it was an inspired drive. Because the pace that Alexander Sims had, we saw him in strong form at the end of last season, but his best lap time, his super pole run on 250 kilowatts of power, was a 1:14.563, and that was straight out of the block. So he had his warm-up lap, and then he did his full power lap. And Sam Bird in group qualifying set a 1:14.946. To top the group qualifying stages, and that would have been with two warm-up laps and then the full power, so you hone it in more. So that run immediately out of the pit lane is impressive. I don't know if it's through track evolution or not, but the pace that Sims had was mesmerizing. And some people say that the perfect lap doesn't exist, but I think Alexander Sims came very close to achieving that in qualifying, because that lap was something special.
And then Stoffel van Dorn, 2.5, a little bit more than that, tenths off. And then we had Nick de Vries, Eduardo Mortara, so the 3 Mercedes, Sam Bird after the mistake, and then Jerome D'Ambrosio. Into the race now. What a race this was. We saw a very, what would I call it? Sims faded away. I feel like he wasn't robust enough in defence.
Yeah.
And starting on pole, got a good start, but it just didn't go the way I thought it would for him. I thought, Sims, absolutely going to check out now because that car's just quick. As long as Sam Bird doesn't hunt him down, but that ended up being the case. It took him a while, and there was some good strategy. Stoffel van Dorn being unfortunate with the safety car, so he couldn't use attack mode in the second running of attack mode very well, but overall, a decent race.
Yeah, it was very good. It was very strategy-driven as well. So attack mode for Diriyah, compared to the Season 5 race, it was moved. So in Season 5, attack mode zone was located on the inside of turn 17, and then they put it around the outside of turn 19 for this race. And that was the equivalent of a 1.9 second, 2 second loss, I believe. So quite a lot of time. So it was important to use attack mode wisely and use it very strategically, and that's what dominated this race, really. And we saw Sims in first, leading for most of it, and then I believe he was struggling with energy management, and he dropped through the field. And then we had Sam Bird coming up, and Bird got into second, I believe, while Stoffel van Dorn was in the lead, so he was leading in his first race for Mercedes EQ. And Mercedes EQ looked set to win this. And then Stoff activated his attack mode and dropped down to third because the top 3 were that closely grouped. And then about 20 seconds later, the safety car came out. So that removed his attack mode. He couldn't benefit from the power boost. And then it meant that Sam Bird couldn't be overtaken really. And that's how he won. So attack mode is going to be so strategic this year. So strategic. I mean, especially when there is time loss involved.
Just want to highlight Andre Lotterer. Just want to highlight that. 7th to 2nd. What a drive. What a drive for Porsche. First race on the podium. I mean, he's a great defender. He's a great driver. He's absolutely, he's absolutely worth every penny, I'm sure, because that drive was absolutely stellar to get there.
It was a great drive, and nobody expected Porsche to get on the podium. I mean, at least with Mercedes EQ, they had the tester year with HWA. But with Porsche, this was their first ever Formula E race. In that team, only Andre Lotterer and his race engineer had experience of Formula E before that, and you could say Neil Jani, but I mean you can't, can you? Because it was with Dragon in season 4, and no one else had done Formula E before prior to that moment. And then they got second in their first ever race. And the thing is, after the race, Andre Lotterer turned around and said, he had a fan boost available, and turned around and said, I could probably have hunted down Sam if I wanted to, but I thought I would bank the points for the team.
Oh, a wise head.
Yes, a very wise head, but if he had, the shock headlines right there. After 2 years with DS Techeetah, taking podiums but missing out on the win, Andre Lotterer wins on debut with Porsche.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
That would be some headline. Yeah. But yeah, it's I think at this early stage and, at the end of the season, the team's championship, they're going to need all the points they can get, because I feel like Porsche is not going to be fighting with Virgin at the end of the season.
I completely agree with you. I think this is probably a luck thing, very much an early season thing, when everyone's getting to grips. And Lotterer just happened to be at the right place in the right time with that qualifying performance that he had. He just managed to, work his way up the grid, didn't he? And benefited from energy mismanagement from the likes of De Vries and Sims. And then, and I believe Eduardo Mortara, he just kept on making small mistakes when he was using attack mode. So I believe he ran through attack mode, but failed to arm it and missed one of the transponder loops.
He did,
so
yes.
Lost 2 seconds there and kept on losing positions that way. So he would have gotten through on that. And just by keeping his nose clean, Andre Lotterer managed to get second. So a wise head in that car is certainly paying off.
Yeah, I think we've still got to say that it was pretty decent from De Vries for his first race. I mean, his energy management, you could see it early on that it was going to cause him problems. And Sims, for some reason, also was a couple of percent behind early on, and I just couldn't understand it. But obviously, De Vries' first race, but a great drive. For your first race to come home 6th.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it's very good going, isn't it? It's 8 points right there, and 8 deserved points as well. And Formula E is different to everything these drivers have raced in before. I mean, I believe there was an interview with Brendan Hartley somewhere, who's obviously driving for Dragon. And if you look at Brendan Hartley's career, he's driven in everything. He's driven in Le Mans, he's driven in WEC, obviously. He's done Formula 1 as well. He's done all sorts as Brendan Hartley. And after driving that Dragon car, and he's like, this is like nothing I've ever driven before. And it just goes to show how different and hard these cars are to drive. It's so difficult.
There was one point where Massa had the iCam.
Yes.
And he was just looking at the screen, at the mirrors, ahead, picking your braking, looking at the inside, back to the screen, okay, yep, over to the right, make sure you're not going into the wall. It's just eye movements all the time.
It doesn't stop.
And it just, you've got so much while driving the car. It's not just driving the car. Anyone can drive it flat out, but to think about regen, think about attack mode. I'm sure obviously the teams will be looking after that mostly, but you've still got to position it to get into the attack mode. You've still got to make sure that when you come out of attack mode that you're not being put into the wall. It was just, there's so much to think about.
It is mad. Right.
I struggle to do 2 things at once. That's why it's only an audio medium, but it's just incredible.
It is insane, like, when you actually think about it. I mean, a lot of people look at racing and motorsport and go, oh, it's just some geezer driving a car. It's so much more than that, because it's like being on a unicycle and juggling and everything's on fire. That's how I describe Formula E. Because you're sat in this car, you're driving the car, you're on a street circuit. If you make the tiniest mistake, you are in the wall.
It is.
Especially with Diriyah, it's the most tricky, complex track on the Formula E calendar. You're driving, you're checking your mirrors, you're managing your pace, you're regenning, you're talking to your engineer, you're managing your attack mode. If you've got fan boost, you got to think about that. Can I use attack mode in the time allotted? What if there's a safety car? What about the rules and regulations? Then in safety car periods, you've got this energy reduction as well. You've got to build up a cushion, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. It is mad.
It's absolutely incredible.
We'll
just run down the finishing positions, and then I wanted to have just a little bit of a talk about the rookies. So obviously Sam Bird, stellar drive, 26 points because he got the point for the group qualifying stages. Andre Lotterer in second, 18 points. Stoffel Van Dorn on the podium, 15. Roland 12, Freins 10. So a good start for Robin Freins, especially out of Group 1. Good recovery from him. Nick De Vries, 8 points. Mortara, 6. Alexander Sims on 7 points. In 8th as pole position. Jerome D'Ambrosio and Mitch Evans rounding out the top 10. Verline missing out in 11th. Massa, De Grassi, Da Costa, Turvey, Collado, Neil Jani, Maximilian Günther, Hartley, and Ma. And the DNFs, Vern Buemi and DNS for Muller did not start.
Yeah.
They couldn't get his car onto the grid fast enough after a crash in qualifying, which is a shame. So,
it is a shame.
Missing the first race.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Muller's a very quick guy. And throughout the weekend, I was saying Nico Muller's going to do very well. I mean, I do qualifying predictions before every race with a few people I know. And I put Nico Muller in third in qualifying. I was that confident. Because he was very quick in testing. And I think he showed pace in practice 1 as well. I think he was second fastest driver behind Freins. And then he crashed the car in qualifying and then couldn't start the race. So, very unfortunate start. Very unfortunate start. But I stand by my words. Nico Muller will impress everybody this season. And he will win at least one race.
Oh.
Yeah, you heard it here. You heard it here. I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket because I'm telling you he will win something.
Vern didn't have a very good start to the season with a... What was it? It wasn't suspension. It was like the steering...
Yeah, he had basically he was driving along and thought his steering wheel was quite heavy. And then his steering arm just locked. And
yes.
Yeah, had like a steering failure. And couldn't even drive the car. So, yeah, a bit of an annoying start for Vern. But never mind, he'll, more points on offer later in the season.
Yep, definitely. And Buemi not having a great start either.
No, I believe Buemi had what was it? It was a water pressure pump problem or something like that. It meant that he stopped after 3 laps and then got the car started again and then just got it in the pit lane. So, yeah, a shame. But again, Sebastian Buemi, isn't it? He's the most successful driver in Formula E in terms of wins, poles and podiums, I believe. So, again, he will come back. I'm sure the Nissan car's quick.
Well, Roland in 4th. So, yeah, no, it's got some pace on it.
Mm-hmm. Which is quite good. Bearing in mind they had to switch their powertrain for this season as well, in the off-season. So, yeah.
Exactly. Couple I wanted to talk about, James Collado, Neil Jani, and Hartley and Muller. Well, we can't really talk about Muller. But what did you think of the rookies? I thought it was a baptism of fire, basically, especially Collado.
It was. I mean, yeah, it's always difficult to go into Formula E, isn't it? And for James Collado, it was such an unfortunate debut. I mean, I know he crashed the car in pre-season testing. There was in one of the practice sessions, he again hit the wall. But he was impeded by Daniel Apton,
That was unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, so he was on probably his fastest lap. He was about to go towards the top. And Daniel Apt was just sitting on the apex of a corner. Collado had to take the outside line and just thwacked the wall so hard and got a puncture. So that wasn't ideal for him. And then in qualifying, he also crashed. And yeah, I mean, at that point, it's confidence zero, isn't it?
It is.
And you start really doubting yourself. So a tough debut for him.
He did say, though, that the steering wasn't straight when he was heading out for qualifying.
There is that as well. So
yeah.
I mean, it's just a series of unfortunate events, isn't it, that kind of put him there. Small mistakes, even other drivers from Apt, and then bang, you're in the wall. So who else was a rookie? I can't even name half the field, there's that many drivers. Brendan Hartley actually had a bet on as to who would crash first this weekend with someone. He would bring out the first red flag, and my friend said Ma Ching-hua, and I said Brendan Hartley, and it was Ma that brought out the first red flag. He crashed on his outlap in FP1, but Brendan also crashed his car. I think Brendan Hartley, he's a very experienced driver. It is Formula E. The speed will come. Neil Jani, probably the least inspiring driver on the grid. To be brutally honest.
No, not the least.
He was the least.
We know who's the least.
His pace was well off compared to Lotterer, but that's probably expected. With experience, the speed will come.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who else is a rookie? Nick De Vries. Nick De Vries' pace was fantastic, wasn't it? I don't think we can really fault him this weekend because, yes, his energy management was a bit rubbish, but at the same time, it will come with experience.
Exactly. And I guess Formula 2, it's a single-seater series, whereas I'm sure Brendan Hartley's been smashing the simulator for Ferrari, but other than that, he's been in WEC.
Yeah.
Gianni's been doing some work, but no racing by the look of it, apart from, he's in WEC as well, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I want to say that he pulled out of WEC to focus on the Porsche commitments, because Rebellion only have the one car this year, which is Bruno Senna, Norman Nato, Gustavo Meñez, so very forgettable.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before. That's fine.
Yeah, I've completely forgot about him. So, no Neil Shani.
So, Chris, who was your driver of the day and also the largest surprise of round one?
My driver of the day was Sam Bird, I think. Because Sam Bird, he started from 5th on the grid, and the energy management that he had and the pace that he had was special, wasn't it? It was really special.
It was good.
Yeah, and it was probably one of his best wins in Formula E, I would say. Because it was such a calculated drive. We've seen races where Sam Bird has won from the front row and walked it and done this and done that. And a lot of his race wins are good, but this one really stood out, winning from 5th. He really had to work hard to get up there. And it would have been a total team effort to focus on the energy management and strategic element as well to get him up at the front. And his experience really proved in that first race. It was a pleasure to watch. What about for you? Who's your driver of the day?
I've got to go with Lotterer. 7th to 2nd.
Yeah.
First race for Porsche. Stellar drive, great defense. Overtaking was stellar. It just all came together. It just really did. So, and I think he said himself that really he had no expectation on him just to go out there and make it happen. But a podium was definitely more than the team thought was possible, and I think that he thought was possible. But absolutely brilliant. So I'll be looking to see if he can, continue this, especially with being that high in the championship, Group 1, Group 2. We'll see what will happen. Yeah,
it was a very strong drive from Lotterer as well. He's a very noteworthy driver for race 1, I think. So I don't blame you for picking him there. Very, very good.
Surprise of round 1.
Surprise of round 1. It would have to be one of the Mercedes drivers, I think. Either Van Dorn or De Vries. because Van Dorn has raced before, I would say Nick De Vries. 3rd on the grid, 6th in the race. First ever outing in Formula E. Pretty good, isn't it?
It is. Yep, I picked De Vries as well, so it just, yeah. Again, it's first race. Energy management wasn't quite there, but, first race. What a drive. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was inspired, it was.
It was. And Mercedes will be rubbing their hands together with that pairing after that sort of performance.
Yeah. It is one of the more exciting lineups, isn't it?
It is.
You got Stoffel Van Dorn, fan favourite allegedly, and
allegedly.
Nick De Vries, who's allegedly
with the van boost.
And then you got Nick De Vries, who, he's a quick driver, isn't he? He's made a career choice to come over to Formula E because there wasn't anything in Formula 1 for him, and he's demonstrated his class straight out the blocks, hasn't he? Against very distinguished drivers.
And good to have that sort of performance in front of the big boss Toto Wolff as well, who was there in the flesh.
Yeah, of course. Big man Toto Wolff was there this weekend, and he would have been very happy with the results. So,
I'm sure he'll sleep easy tonight.
Encouraging early signs.
Very encouraging. Very encouraging. Now, just a few notes before we finish. There are lots of ways to keep up with Formula E this season, and, well, electric motorsport news in general and some other bits. And I wanted to highlight some of them. Some great publications online, so check them out. Alt Drive, Inside Electric, Motorsport Week / Motorsport Monday, of course. Chris, are you still doing anything on there?
I am, so I'm still fronting coverage for them for Formula E and the IPC Trophy this season. So you can read all the latest alleged gossip from me there, and plenty of race reports, practice reports, reaction and previews, and features in Motorsport Monday, if you're that way inclined. Got some good stuff coming up. So yeah, that'll be good.
Excellent. And also eRacing 365 as well. Got some other bits and pieces on there that's quite good. Okay. You can follow us on Twitter at Regen Racing or regenracingpodcast.com. Probably the best ways to get us. Is there anything else that you'd like to put forward, Chris?
Right, so coming back onto Motorsport Week, we are actually looking for riders. So a number of positions have opened across Motorsport Week and Motorsport Monday, and we're looking to bring a few new riders to our team. So if you're a listener here, and if you're passionate about motorsport, you're always welcome to join. So we're looking for, obviously your passion for motorsport is an absolute must. And if you tick that box, you might as well get in touch with us. We've got an opening in our Formula 1 team, and our IndyCar team, and the World Rally Championship. And it doesn't stop there, because also if you're a designer with Photoshop experience, and Adobe InDesign and Adobe Acrobat, you could help us design issues of Motorsport Monday magazine, which is basically weekend work. All of these positions are, of course, on a freelance basis, with pay based on talent and experience. Your responsibilities would be race reports, practice reports, and general news items and features for both Motorsport Week and Motorsport Monday. And we would, of course, like you to have good command of written English. And then the best thing is, once established, you could end up going to events as an accredited journalist. You can send your applications or find out more by emailing the following email address, which is editor@motorsportweek.com. And you have to send in your full name, location, the position you desire, your availability, your past experience, and a CV. You can find out more about that on Motorsport Week as well. I would like to highlight this as a very good opportunity. So I joined Motorsport Week in 2017, and I haven't looked back from there. And Motorsport Week really kick-started what I do now. And without Motorsport Week, I don't think I would be reporting on Formula E anymore. And I don't think I'd be working in motorsport at all, to be honest with you. And the opportunities that they offer are astounding. And it's definitely worth looking at if you're an aspiring motorsport journalist, or if you want to go and do PR or communications or something like that. Motorsport Week and Motorsport Monday are a great way to get started in that, and I would fully recommend them. So that's my pitch over, and if you're listening, get in touch.
Glowing review.
Yes. Glowing review.
It's a shame I don't have as much time as I would like, or else I probably would apply. Although it'd be kind of expensive to send me all over the world from New Zealand. So that probably counts that out as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is very time limiting. It depends on what you do, really. If you've got a bit of free time, it's fine. If you haven't, it's not. But we all make it work.
Yes, and it's very much appreciated. It is a good read. And thank you once again, Chris, for joining me. If you want to get in touch with us, hello@regenracingpodcast.com. If you want to tell us how bad our predictions were, I think I went for Verline for the first race of the season. Or if you just want to say hi or talk about Formula E, we never stop. So that would be much appreciated. And also, just again, if you want to check out Hit the Apex, that is an awesome podcast. Go and give Jawad some love. I think that does it.
Yes, I think that's it for race 1. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back with race 2, another absolute cracker. It's just, and to be honest, I've got to say, race 2, probably one of my favourite races. So that'll come out next week.
Race 2 is a corker.
Not to be missed. Absolutely not. Do not miss it. Get your podcatchers ready.
Yes.
Okay. I will say goodbye. Have a good week, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. Epic.